it instilled in me was this kind of sense that something's going to come along and save me. Now it is, those books that you just saw me throw onto the ground there, for maybe the last 9 years, For maybe the last 9 years, I've been trying to find one thing I've been trying to get an answer to. And you know what that thing is? It's the word purpose. See, ever since I picked up a book by Sinek called Find Your Why, I've been thinking that there's an inherent thing inside of me that I'm going to unlock one day, and I'm going to suddenly find why Alex was put on this earth. Mad thing, I know. And the reason for it, there's a big reason to it, right? And I thought I'd share it with you on this video right here. In fact, I'm going to go for a walk and finish the rest of this in a second. Give me a sec. Been stuck indoors all day. I thought I'd finish this video out here, walking in the wild with the dog. So anyway, what I mean when I say that word purpose is because when I was 12 years old, I was told that I was blessed with a birth-given right of ADHD. And then at 12 years old, I was told by a psychologist lady person that there's a cure for, or there's not a cure for it, but there's a way of suppressing it, and there's a way of hiding it from the general public. So it kind of instilled in me, and that hide, by the way, was Ritalin, which I wouldn't recommend taking. I lost 3 years of my life. I can't remember what happened between 12 and 15. No idea. Anyway, actually I do remember. I went to a women's refuge at one point for 6 months, which sucked. Anyway, the reason I share all of this is because what it instilled in me was this kind of sense that something's going to come along and save me, right? There was this problem with my brain, which I can't solve, which I've now learned also doesn't help with ADHD, that we struggle regulating serotonin, which means we struggle with happiness and depression and all of this good stuff. And it really messes you up long time shut. But anyway, I digress. And what I found is that I was waiting for something to come along, and it's just going to magically happen one day. And I was reading book after book, and we saw them drop earlier on. Cue them falling down again. Briefly. And I was waiting for one of these books to give me that eureka moment, that I was going to suddenly be saved, and I was going to find out my purpose, and I'll be happy, and I can live this dream. But it never came. And the funny thing with that is, right, is I read all these books, and I was not disappointed, but it never came. It never came into my life, this sudden realization of what I was here to do. And I had spent maybe 9 years chasing this, right? I started reading this stuff, listening to this stuff when I was like 17, 18 years old, right? Ever since then, for 9 years, right? So what was that? 27 plus 9, right? So 26 years old is when I suddenly realized, man, this isn't coming. This isn't coming into my life, right? There's no way any of these books are going to hold the answer. What does hold the answer? Let me just, hold on. My left shoulder was going tired, so I swapped the camera. What I found though is the opposite is true. You're not going to suddenly find it. It's not going to suddenly be given to you like that. It's not going to leap out of a page and suddenly find you like that. How instead it comes about is by one question and becoming laser focused on this question. And that question was, and is, where do you naturally excel? I'm just gonna, my left shoulder's fine again, right? Where do you naturally excel? And the reason this is so important for me is because I feel like a lot of us have been lied to that we all have this inherent purpose and we're all here because something's bigger than us and it's spiritual and all of this stuff. Now, I believe in those words. I like the words and I like the spiritual world. I love what it stands for. I love that it says things like, what do I love that it says? I love that it says be good to others, right? And I love that it says give a little bit more than you take. I love these things, I really do. But what I don't like is it leaves you with this feeling of you're here for something great and it's almighty and you're going to serve the world. And this may be true, right? It may be, but it's also an incredibly tough a really incredibly tough thing to try and achieve, is that you're here for this grand purpose and you're going to discover it because of a book. It's not going to happen, right? Well, it might do for you, but it didn't for me. And I'm only sharing that. I'm only giving you my perspective. What did happen though, is when I shifted from finding my purpose to being something I'm incredibly good at. And that for me is communication and teaching people how to sell. And I've been doing it for kind of 12 years now and it's wonderful, right? But when I discovered that, I suddenly took the pressure off myself. I suddenly took the pressure off myself to find this purpose. Instead, I just asked myself that simple question: where do I naturally excel? What do I naturally do, right, that I haven't really tried that hard at? I'm consistent with, but it wasn't a slog for me to learn how to do it. I'm just going to swap shoulders again. It wasn't a slog for me to how to do it. It just came to me, right? That's what I focus on. Now, just to go back to go forward, when I was 26, this was 6 months after I'd gone through a pretty tough breakup. And that breakup taught me, I lost all my money. I went into 30 grand worth of debt. There was like a lot of stuff that went down. What it taught me as well is that, again, no one's coming to save you, right? There's no one's just going to turn up with this pill. When I was 12, it was Ritalin. When I was 26, it was a life lesson. There's no one or thing that's going to come and magically make this better. There's no one that's going to come along and suddenly give you the answer to these problems. Unfortunately, and fortunately, you need to create that for yourself. And if you do still think after this video that you are going to find a purpose and it's going to be this magical thing, you need to answer it yourself. And the way you do that, or way I've done that, is by another simple question, which is what leaves me feeling proud of myself. Now, the reason for this, no matter how much money I've made in my life, and it's massively varied throughout the years, as it does for everyone probably, is that the only thing that matters, whether I've been 30 grand broke or stupid amounts in my bank account, no matter how much I've earned, the most important feeling I've chased is pride. Over those years, it's that feeling of, Alex, I'm so proud that you've been able to achieve that you've done that. And when I've chased that instead, and I'll do another video later on down the line of the 3 metrics. In fact, I'll talk to you about it now. How I came to this, by the way, is because I realized in sales that you're never paid for your time. You're only paid for your value. You're only paid for the value that you give a customer during that time. I suddenly realized, okay, well, I matter more than the customer does. So how do I show up the best I can for my customer so that I can give them that value? Really important questions that we're talking about right here. I'm just going to go in here out the wind quickly so you can hear this point. Look at that sky. Woo! Hold on, let me look at that sky. Beautiful. Right, so the 3 questions I started asking myself to really figure, I'm just going to swap shoulders again, to really figure out kind of like how to find purpose, passion, all of this stuff, was 3 questions, right? And those 3 questions are, I broke it down into morning, evening, and money, because money's really important in our world, right? If you want to do anything, it takes money. And those 3 questions were, what brings me joy? right? Because joy for me is not happiness. Joy is something, it needs to be fun, right? We need to have a smile on our face. We need to have a laugh and a joke while we're doing it. And joy also gets you out of bed in the morning, right? Too much of life is a bit of a slog, right? Whereas if you think about the morning of holidays, yes, it's stressful, but it's exciting at the same time. And we're excited to get out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning for a 4 a.m. flight, or we're excited to get out of bed in the morning for a 6 a.m. flight, whatever, right? You need to be excited to get out of bed. And then, for me, it's important to make sure I go to bed fulfilled. Look at this view. My gosh. It's important that I go to bed fulfilled. It's important for me that I go to bed proud of myself in the day. And for me right now, it's doing something where I've improved the life of somebody else. Now, let me give you an example. The sales training that I recently have delivered for Amazon, on a Saturday, 2 weeks after the training at 5:41 p.m, I get an email from someone. Obviously, I cannot say their name, but I get an email from someone, and they said to me, Alex, I've been at the company 3 years now, and I would be 2.5 years ahead of where I was if I'd had the training you just delivered to us 2 weeks ago when I first started. 2.5 years ahead. Now, this is not to brag how good my training style is or the content that I've written and how good that is. What it's simply to do is highlight that moment right there is more important than anything else that I've probably done this year. Because I have written something and delivered something that's helped somebody feel as if we're starting to unlock their potential. We're starting to really dig into what's important to them and how do they show up now? How have we improved their life? And that, for me, is the important part. And I want to finish on the value piece as well, because value is what we get paid for. You do not get paid for your time. Do not be under the illusion that just because you turn up to work, you'll be paid, right? And I'll give you a saying that I was given maybe 2012, so oh my god, 10 years ago. Jim Rohn said, if you do more than you're paid for, soon you'll be paid for more than you do. And value for me is that crucial thing. I don't ever think about products or services to think about value, and this is why. What I do is I combine joy that gets me out of bed in the morning with pride, because I want to go to bed and I want to go to sleep that evening feeling proud of myself. I then think about value because I want to think about how do I maximize the time that I have during the day, and it's how much value do I deliver in that time. And when I think about those three things, that's how I have a truly fulfilled day. Is that I'm excited to get out of bed in the morning, and that's usually often coming out here running with wherever the dog is. He's found a stick. And he's also stuck. He's realizing that the gaps between the tree is too small for the stick. Look how confused he looks. Anyway, so that's the thing. I need to make sure that I get out of bed in the morning and I'm proud and I'm excited to start my day. It's going to be fun for me, right? Second thing is the pride thing. I have to go to bed. For me personally, I have to go to bed proud of what I've achieved in that day. And the final thing is value, because we only get paid for the value we bring to our time. Massively appreciate you devoting almost kind of 15-16 minutes of your life to me. Any questions, as always, throw them in the comments below. Any thoughts, any feelings, anything you'd like to share, please feel free to drop it through to me. Thank you so much for watching. Big love.